Welcome to This Week in Location-Based Marketing. On today's show, there are some new old kids taking on ISIS. Virgin America rocks the vote. We love this. Swirl launches, JiWire's location graph, plus a bevy of funding activity, a resource of the week, and special guest John Gentry of Computer Sciences Corporation. Yeah, that's $1 billion company. Stick around. Welcome to episode number 91 of This Week in Location-Based Marketing. We are filming this live between Asif and I on Sunday night, August 19th, 2012. My name, Rob Woodbridge from Untether.tv from Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, home of the gold medal winning trampoline artist, of whose name I cannot remember. With me as always, from his hometown, Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Take it from here, Asif.
Asif Khan from the Location-Based Marketing Association, still in Toronto temporarily, leaving in the morning. But yeah, you can find us at the LBMA, THELBMA.com, or on the Twitter. Big show today. As you said, a lot of old dogs, showing their teeth and coming back. It's funny because it seems like, the whole episode we're going to be talking about data and the power of big data and old and new and how that's all coming together. And I spent, it seems like half my week listening to old songs from the late 70s and 80s. So all things old or new again. So there you go.
It's so true. The closing ceremonies for the Olympics last Friday, which we talked about, obviously, but it was like, a flashback to the 60s, 70s, and 80s, which was the heyday for British pop and rock invasions. And I just never lost it. This week is the same thing with me. I felt very nostalgic coming into this. It's the end of August, slowing down into fall. The nights are getting a little cooler. 2 weeks till kids start school. I don't know what's going on, but I'm feeling it myself. So it needs.
That's crazy. This week was all Depeche Mode and Neil Young and Van Morrison and I don't know what, man. Stuff that I haven't listened to for a long time, but happy to be back revisiting it. Anyhow, so we got a big show.
I'm going to be in Toronto on Friday. I'd be loath and remiss to tell you about it because for those of you who are watching on video right here, I just reached up. You hear that? It's like a magic envelope. It's a magic envelope full of...
I know what it is.
Bruce Springsteen tickets. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. I'm going to be in Toronto there crying like a little schoolgirl. For those of you who are in Toronto going to the Bruce Springsteen show, shout out. I'm in section 105. I'll be crying. Can't wait. Can't wait. God.
Alrighty.
All right, big show today. But before we jump into it and wow you with the stuff that's going on, talk about what you're doing. You're heading off tomorrow. You're leaving the city. You're going to another event, Asif, for a change. What is this one that you're going to do?
Well, I've been home for a couple of weeks, Rob. Come on now.
You know what? It's a record, isn't it?
It is. But anyhow, yeah, I'm off to Kansas City. I haven't been there for quite a while, so anyhow, I'm heading out there to spend some time with one of our members, a company called Front Flip. We've talked about them on the show before. Got a nice little digital scratch card location loyalty platform, and they're putting on an event, and I'm pleased to be speaking at it. And kind of looks at how restaurateurs could be using that kind of a technology to engage customers, keep them there longer, spend more, reward loyal customers, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it should be fun. So if you're in Kansas City, it's on Tuesday evening. Drop by or send me a note or contact Front Flip and be there.
I like Kansas City, and we keep joking about this, but you've got to test this whole Google Fiber. I don't know how you're going to do it, but Kansas City and Kansas, they're working together on this fiber, and it's the only place you can get it in the United States.
It is the only place. Yeah.
So check out to see live reporting in Kansas City. So this was a big week. I have nothing to shell. I have nothing at all. Nothing whatsoever. So we're just going to dive right into the stories. If you have a story, obviously, if you remember this, if you have a story that you want us to cover, reach out at untethered@gmail.com or sif@thelbma. We'd love to hear your stories. And please, please, please subscribe to this podcast in iTunes. Give it a 5-star rating. We would love it if you did that. That'd be great. Top 5. Here we go. Ba-da-da. We have talked about this company, our first store. We've talked about JiWire many, many, many times before. We love what these guys are doing, combining location and intent and psycho and demographics and then tailored targeted messaging. They've launched something called the Location Graph. Asif, take it away. Give us a little bit more details about this, please.
Yeah, I mean, JiWire's a big player in the location ecosystem, especially around Wi-Fi hotspots, helping monetize those hotspots by delivering advertising. But at the end of the day, these guys are a data company, and Location Graph is a cool new service that basically sort of takes all that data they've been collecting for years and years. Apparently, they profiled 500 million devices. That's how many devices have connected to Wi-Fi hotspot locations that JiWire has been associated with. And over that, they've created 3 billion location data tags. So they have this massive database, and it's constantly sort of growing. And so there's just all this data there that they can look at, and they can say, okay, well, this particular device, the IP address of this device, so it's not specific to, we don't know the name of the person necessarily or their phone number or anything, that specific, but we know the device ID. And what they're doing is they're saying, look, we see this device, showed up at LaGuardia Airport, and then they went to a Starbucks, and then they went to this particular place. And they've connected to networks, in each of those places, so we can sort of track their preferences on the kinds of things that they do. And then we see that same device goes to a Starbucks, 3 times a week. So we can infer certain things from the data that way, and that becomes quite valuable for advertisers and marketers that want to reach, specific demographics. It just gives that additional level of targeting. So this is cool. It's purely around locations, where people are going. So I love it. The other thing I should say too is JiWire. As good as these guys are, and as big a player as they are, they're not without their challenges. The CEO stepped down, I guess, a couple of weeks ago now. David Stoss, who was running marketing, is currently filling that role as the interim CEO. So they have some challenges on the leadership side. I'm sure they're addressing it, but at the same time, they're not standing still. They're going out and they're continuing to push the envelope with things like Location Graph.
Yeah, this is a neat thing. Big data is so fascinating to me, and that's what this whole show is pretty much around: big data and deciphering big data. And every time I think about big data, it is the most valuable piece. We've talked about this many times in our episodes before, but the fact that data is what this is all about. It doesn't matter how you enable anything else, but it's the data that you receive that is much more valuable than anything else. It's patterns, it's pattern recognition. That's why I think that the most valuable company on the planet, except for Amazon, they're retailers, but the most valuable planet for us in the country, anyways, in Canada, is Interact, the debit guys. They understand. They're up there with the credit card companies. They understand our purchasing patterns. That's why I like JiWire. But I wonder if this is just duplicate data. They did this great thing. They put out this I guess it's an infographic around a location graph. It's because location defines audience. I'm pulling it up on the screen right now where they're talking about some of the statistics that they pulled up as a result of this. And I think that this is a lot of inference. Like, you can infer a lot of the stuff that they've come up with right now. And I'm waiting for them to dive a little bit deeper into the data aspect itself. And maybe they don't give that away. But they say, it's simple stuff like 65% versus 46% of females eat versus males eat out on a monthly basis. Or, 4% of Starbucks drinkers visit a Starbucks more than 10 times compared to 2% of the same for Pete's drinkers. And then it gets a little bit more, a little bit deeper. The one statistic that really, really I loved this stat, I can't tell you how much, is that this is where you start to see the value of putting data A with data B, which is the top national change chains visited by Pete's and Starbucks drinkers. So this is, if I'm a Starbucks drinker, these are the top 5 national chains that I visited. Number 1, Bank of America. Number 2, Subway. 3, Citibank. 4, Chase Bank. And 5, McDonald's. Pete's, the top 5 are Wells Fargo, U.S. Bank, Subway, 7-Eleven, Starbucks Coffee, which is pretty funny. But that's really where you start to see this kind of data really showing, is that the value of knowing, you know, what your brand is worth, and if I like that kind of stuff. But this is inference.
No, I do too, and it's that ability to correlate the data sets that starts to make it really valuable. The other thing that I like about what they're doing here, you know, if you read through the press release, you'll see. But you know, this is a competitive space. You know, this kind of data, there's a lot of folks out there who can do it in various forms, maybe not to the same extent. But rather than JiWire going out and saying, you know, we've got this thing, it's location graph, here's what it can do for you, it's a premium service, and you're going to pay a lot more for it. They're not doing that. In fact, they're just building it into every product that they already sell, and it's just included in what you're getting. So they're not holding it out as some, you know, secret sauce special thing you're going to pay 10 times for. They're just building it into all the offerings they currently have, because it's a competitive market. Yeah. They want to stay ahead.
And that's one of the things that I love about it, is that because it's so competitive, these services become lumped in, you know, as part of your fee that you're already paying.
Yeah.
Well, I like JiWire. I like the data graph that they put on top of it. But I always say, and we're going to say it many times in this show, because it's all around big data, is that if you don't pay for it, you are the product. Right? That's the adage. If you're not paying for it, you are the product. That's why everybody likes to use Facebook, but everybody likes to complain. You are the product unless you pay for it. So this is pretty cool. Check out JiWire at JiWire.com. JiWire.com. You heard of these guys? Man, this is where it gets complicated and confusing for consumers, I believe, with our next story. You've heard of these guys. All the major credit card companies are getting together. They formed this payments service called ISIS. They announced it. They haven't launched anything. So what do the retailers do? Some of the biggest brands in retailing do? They say, hey, screw you, credit card companies. We understand payments. We understand the consumer. We're going to set something up. So these guys create something called MCX Payment Network. Why confuse the consumer here? Why are these guys getting into this? Do you think this is a good idea, Seif, or do you think that this just muddies the water in this very competitive space?
I think it's a little bit of both, honestly. So MCX, Merchant Customer Exchange, they're calling this. Apparently there's 14 brand retailers already on board on this thing. Some of the biggest that you can think of: Best Buy, Walmart, Target, 7-Eleven, CVS, Shell. There's some big names that are behind this. I think it's a little bit of what you're alluding to, Rob, in the sense that these are big retailers. They want to control the ecosystem. They feel like they don't need Google Wallet. They don't need ISIS. They can go their own. They can sort of build their own road to do that and keep some of the profit, so to speak. That would normally go to the credit card companies here. I think it's challenging. I think it's somewhat confusing to the consumer. They're talking about that the system might be similar to the one that Starbucks put in place with 2D barcodes and things like that. Around loyalty programs. But now, I don't know if
Starbucks has gone into
that's not where it goes, honestly. I hope that's not where it goes, because we're already seeing Starbucks, as we talked about the other day, working with Square and others, and sort of at the detriment of their own system. What's going to happen here, though, is you're going to have 15 different systems going for a while. And we're going to have to wait. The consumers are going to be confused. The consumers are going to be testing all sorts of different things. And in the end, 2 or 3 are going to survive. This one, I don't know. It's got a shot. I mean, when you got big brands behind it, putting big money behind it and supporting it, at the end of the day, none of these things are going to work unless A, the consumers are on board, and B, the retailers are on board. So if this is the retailer starting it, then to me, it's got a better shot than a Google Wallet.
Yeah. You know what? Out of all of these, the likelihood of something like Google Wallet working, to me, diminishes when big players and big brands get into this, as these guys have. But I honestly believe that the credit card companies know much more about processing retail transactions than do the merchants that do this. And I think that the credibility, the ability to have fraud detection, the ability to do service and support on it, credit card companies have done this forever. And you know what? I think that this is one of those things that I when compared, I implicitly trust the credit card company more so than I do the retailers, simply because the credit card company is a kind of an open source, and I'll use that very loosely. They satisfy every requirement for transaction for every retailer. They are not biased. And these guys who are setting up this MCX, they're pushing local deals, they're pushing promotions that only those retailers are a part of, and that's the way that it reads.
But in the end, though, Rob, I think with any of these systems, whether it's Google Wallet or ISIS or MCX, they're all going to allow the credit cards to work within them.
Yeah. So
right?
What's the difference?
I mean, Google came out just recently with Wallet, a few weeks ago, and said, well, now we're going to accept credit cards as well, because they have to.
Yes.
They're not going to have a choice, right? The credit cards know how to do it best. They're going to be part of this ecosystem no matter what. The consumers want them to be. So I think it's great that the retailers are coming out and saying, "Hey, we want to do this. We want to control the ecosystem a little bit." That's fine, and they can do it. They're the big retailers. But in the end, they're also going to have to support the credit cards.
100%. They're going to have to support everything. So it just comes back down to who is the most powerful beings, who are the most powerful beings in this space. And it is the folks at the end of the line who actually process those transactions. And it isn't Square. It's the credit card company. Right? I think that's where the relationship lives. That's where all the big data lies. And don't make no mistake, we love big data. But these companies that have signed up for MCX are in it for the big data as well. That's exactly what they're doing here. They want, patterns, retail purchase patterns, and buying habits, and that's, they're tired of giving that off to the credit card companies. So this is an interesting play, but for the poor consumer, you got Tap and Go, you got PayPass, you got PayPal working, you got Square, you got all these, you got ISIS, you got Google Wallet. It's like, look, man. It's not that confusing to pull out cash, because cash really is the easiest, the lowest common denominator and the easiest thing to pay with. And man, I hope that we get this right, but I think that we're going to end up confusing the average consumer and actually hurting this industry. But I can understand why they don't want to give it up. It's going to be massive. It's going to be a massive space to play in. But ultimately, the retailers, their number one revenue generator is selling goods. So they should just help facilitate that. But I don't know where you can find any more information. I can't find a website for MCX. They've announced it. They haven't announced a date for release. They haven't announced anything else. But I think that this is, I guess, just search MCX Payment. There's a bunch of stories floating around.
Yeah.
It's an interesting time for retail, that's for sure. These guys are, it's tough. It's tough. And I think we're going to sit back at the end of this in a couple of years, let's see, for 3 years, maybe 4 years, and we're just going to realize that this is just another way to pay. Right? No big whoop. This is just another way to pay. Right?
Yeah, and we'll have many. They're not going to go away. Like I said, there might be 12 of them today, and we'll end up with 2 or 3, but they're still going to be there. Credit card companies are going to be there.
I always wonder, is it just, cash is so hard to uproot. Cash is so hard to uproot because it's just a universal, simple mechanism for payment, and we just have to think beyond cash as a replacement. So, I'd hope that these guys are at least thinking a little bit innovative around what they're doing. So MCX Payment Network, huge retailers, Walmart, 7-Eleven, these guys are big. Speaking of big, hey, heard of this company called Amazon?
Yeah, once or twice, but a thing from them.
Yeah, 1 or 2 things. Yeah, I think everybody on the planet has bought 1 or 2 things from Amazon. Well, they have this thing called Amazon Local, which we know is their kind of Groupon competitor, right? Local is the way to go. And, one of the things that they probably saw was looking at Groupon and realizing this massive workforce that they need to be able to create in order to support that local initiative. So they partner with Yellow Pages. I thought they were out of business. Are they still around?
Oh, no, they're still there. They're still kicking. I actually like this deal. I think it's kind of, I think it's really quite good for Amazon actually. So when you think about this, the Yellow Pages isn't going anywhere. I mean, as a print publication, it's going, it's dying. Both in Canada and in the U.S. And I'm sure in many other parts of the world. But the digital side of that business, the need for business listing information doesn't go away. People still need to be found. We still need to find their phone numbers. We still need to find their URLs. All that information that YP has is invaluable. But how they get that information is really the key to this deal. And when you look at the history of Yellow Pages or White Pages or any of that kind of stuff, but Yellow Pages in particular, they rely on a massive sales force. People working phones, working, knocking on doors at businesses, convincing them to put a listing in the print book or online now. And it's that sales force that Amazon's trying to tap into here. So what they're saying is look, this is an expensive business, sourcing deals, getting local businesses to do deals, to do Groupon type things, is a challenge. And, to ramp up to that size, to hire that many people to go out and sell all those deals is not something that, it makes sense for Amazon. So, why not, leverage an existing workforce at YP that's already doing it anyways. You're already knocking on those doors. Why don't you go sell, find us deals as well? It just makes sense.
Yeah, this is like a match made in heaven. And Groupon must be looking at this thinking, why? Why? This is an interesting play. I wonder how Yellow Pages are getting paid. Do they get a referral fee? Do they get they get paid on closing? This is an interesting thing because they have Yellow Pages also is into the daily deal space. They have a very small site that does daily deals as well. But I wonder how they're making money on this and why they benefit. I mean, they have people sitting on the bench selling locally. This seems like a no-brainer.
I mean, you got to think that every time they source a deal, they're getting a piece or
Right.
or at least some kind of flat fee per deal source because those individual salespeople, it's got to be part of their comp plan going out and pushing this stuff. So some way somehow they're making a good piece of this. I like the deal. I'll just leave it at that.
What about this whole thing? Like Amazon has Amazon Local, but they've also invested a whole chunk of change, a huge amount of money into Living Social, like hundreds of millions of dollars into Living Social. Why have two of these things? Like, why not just focus on one of them? Like, why not just pick up Living Social and put it into Amazon fully, or just give up on Living Social and use Amazon Local? It's tough for me to understand this kind of strategy from Amazon. Although it must be brilliant
Yeah,
because
I think
it's
that's a great
Bezos.
question. I mean, so they own about a third of Living Social based on previous investments. Living Social is the number two player to Groupon in the marketplace today. So I think it's different. I think when you look at Amazon's market today, forget about the local part. Just look at Amazon as a business. We all know their business. We all know where they come from. Selling books and electronics and those kinds of things, and serving in many respects as a competitive marketplace to Best Buy and places like that when you're in store for price comparison. That's the business that they're known for. And I think their investment in Living Social is basically saying, we're here. We recognize the daily deal business is a growing business. We wanted to play in it. It didn't. I don't think. Honestly, I don't see the correlation between local deals in Living Social as a brand and Amazon. I don't see those two brands fitting together. So I think there's a brand conflict. They're not the same thing. Going out and getting a deal on a DVD or on a book or on the latest Wii game, that doesn't fit in Living Social or Groupon's model. I don't think. and vice versa. I think going and pushing a deal to the spa to the Amazon customer, I'm not sure the correlation there either. So Amazon local, okay, fine. You could argue that, why not use Living Social to source the deals for Amazon local? Don't have a good answer for that.
No.
To me that makes sense, because you already own a piece of the business. But
I guess maybe are they targeting two different audiences with this? Is what you're saying?
That's the only thing I can think. Yeah. Amazon local, obviously, I don't have access to it. It's not available in Canada, so I can't really do that comparison like I can with Living Social. So if you're there and you're listening and you use Amazon local, maybe it's just two different audiences, maybe it's two different types of deals that they're sourcing. I don't know.
I've read reports that came out kind of when Amazon local kind of flared up, is that a lot of these deals were sourced by Living Social, and then Amazon started this after that. And a lot of the deals that came in through Living Social and ended up on Amazon local, and then they built their own sales force around that, and now they're partnering with Yellow Pages. I wonder if this is an indication of a future relationship or strains with Living Social, is that maybe Living Social now is put behind Amazon and they're going to focus on this, and they've learned their lesson. Whatever the $25 million investment or $30 million they did was a learning, and now they're building Amazon local. Who knows? But it just seems like a conflict.
Could be. But we talked about this on the previous show as well, on the payment side. About hedge bets, right?
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with a good hedge bet, right? Putting a little bit of money in Living Social and running your own, and sort of competing with each other, and may the best execution win.
Yeah, I'd hate that. It's a who do you pick? It's like you got two kids. Hey, I'm gonna go with this one.
Yeah.
Well, if you are a Living Social or an Amazon local user, you know the difference. We don't. Reach out, correct us, let us know on tether@gmail.com or seif@thelbmay.com. All right, now this fourth story is one that we both really like. Partly because I got a man crush on Richard Branson. God, love that guy. But
who doesn't?
Well, the guy had tea on top of a hot air balloon floating in the sky. How can you? And he's taking people to space. God love him. He is commercializing space, and the guy, one of my primary investors, one of the majority owners in this company that I ran called Rove, his name is John Criswick. He runs Magmic Games right now. He bought a ticket for Richard Branson. He's going to be blasting off from the Mojave Desert sometime, maybe next summer or the summer after that, and he's going to go and go into orbit, which I think is the coolest thing on the planet. So Richard Branson, God love him. But he owns this thing called Virgin Atlantic. Heard of it? Now, this is a really innovative use of captive audience, and especially the targeted audience that they're going after. Why don't you tell them what's going on here with Virgin America and Rock the Vote?
Yeah, I absolutely love this initiative. Rock the Vote is a group that's focused on signing up new voters. You have a big election coming up in the U.S., obviously. We've been tracking that and seeing, all with Romney and Obama and the back and forth, and who knows what's going to happen. But what we do know is it's always important to exercise your right to vote, and so Rock the Vote is a group that tries to get people registered and get them out to actually vote and participate in the electoral process. So what they've done is they've decided to go where the people are, so to speak, fish where the people are, so to speak. And while you're on a plane, a Virgin America plane, they are basically running a campaign on the in-flight entertainment system that puts up a QR code, and you can scan this QR code, and then it takes you to a voter registration page that you can fill out and kind of get signed up. Pretty simple, but really cool that they're doing it while you're in this, sort of mode of you got nowhere to go. You're sitting in your seat on a plane. The thing comes up on the screen. You're a captive audience, and I really like it. It's a perfect location to track people down.
You've got them captive. Most, you're watching movies, whatever it is that you're doing. I totally agree with you here. The only split I wonder is that demographically, who are they targeting with Rock the Vote? Is it guys like me in my 40s? Is it guys that are 18? You have any ideas about that?
Well, what's the demographic of people who fly Virgin America? I mean, is the question, right? And I think I've flown it a couple times. We used to have a route from Toronto to San Francisco, which is no longer, unfortunately. I loved it. Free Wi-Fi in the air, all that kind of stuff. But I would say it's generally skews slightly younger. It's a bit hipper, cooler type of airline. That's sort of what they go for. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's heavily skewed to sort of the 45 and under crowd. Probably in that sort of 25 to 45 demographic for the most part.
I like that you've called 45 and under hip.
Absolutely.
I'm okay with it.
Are we not hip, Rob? Come on.
I don't know.
It doesn't get any hipper than this.
Come on. Sunday night, rocking out, podcasts.
Yeah.
Talking about our love for Richard Branson. Come on. Two guys.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm not flying Virgin America tomorrow. So, yeah.
Well, I like the
Only
fact
because they don't fly to Kansas City. So there you go.
But I love the fact that they totally did this up. I pulled up a screenshot of this. This was taken from Huffington Post, where they had this Obama lookalike that was up on this. Basically, it was Romney and Obama lookalikes that handed out American flags and really did it up well for this launch. And it's to commemorate the launch, or they have now a direct flight from San Francisco to Washington Dulles area, and so they decided to do this, and I love it. Idle time, mobile technology, using in cabin Wi-Fi to connect, register to vote. It's a perfect combination of timing and technology to drive some good. So go out and vote. That's all I got to say.
And as is typical with all things Virgin America, the marketing is fantastic, right? So the tagline around this is "Join the Mile High QR Code Club." Come on,
so
man.
Good.
You want to do it, Rob.
Well, it is, and everything about that. This was done by a company called Promo Jam, right? This is Promo Jam in social marketing, and I love companies like that where they, two things. I love companies like Virgin that are willing to be a little bit cheeky. You know that because of it's called Virgin. Come on, it's cheeky everywhere. And then I love the fact that they find these companies, these young companies like Promo Jam, that are, and they give them carte blanche. Go nuts. All right, our last story here. This is a launch of a product called Swirl. Now, this is heavy entrepreneurial pedigree. The CEO of this company has exited two companies, both over $100 million. Total $260 million is what the exits of value. And Swirl is supposed to revolutionize retail again. Another one of these companies. So I'll let Asif walk us through this. I actually downloaded it, played with it. I'll give you my 2 cents after Asif kind of walks us through what the significance of this and what is Swirl.
Yeah, so Swirl is another let's call it a location-based deal finder type of service. They raised $6 million, by the way, so this is not a funding story. So they raised $6 million in the past, and they launched this service this past Monday. So it's kind of like Pinterest in a sense. So it sort of blends Pinterest with deal services and helps you find where those products are available at local stores. So the idea here is that you download the iPhone app or you go to swirl.com. You track or follow certain retailers that you like. So I like the Gap or Nordstrom's or J. Crew or whatever it is you like. And you can take pictures of products at those stores like you can on Pinterest. There's about 220 retailers on board on this so far. Macy's, Nordstrom, Saks, etc. They're all on this. And then basically, once you've identified a product, it sources that product across the different retailers, and then provides you with a list on where local retailers are, and closest to you. Where you can get that particular product.
This is nothing unique to me, except for the fact the exits that have happened and the investors in this space. I downloaded it. I played around with it. They say it's targeted towards women, and I don't agree with that. I think that there are. I logged in as me. First thing, you got to log in through Facebook. It's the only way to authenticate. So a lot of people, you'll read some of the comments, especially in the in iTunes, saying like, Facebook fail, 1 star, 1 star, 1 star, and that drives me crazy when people do that. It's just look. Facebook is the identification company of the internet right now, and this is how people authenticate. People feel a little bit more comfortable. Aside from that, I launched it. I took a look around. I saw some great clothes. I added some to my wall. It's a social app, so it allows you to create relationships. So I can invite you, and we can be friends, and you can comment on the clothes that I'm wearing or the clothes that I'm interested in buying, and it goes to my Facebook wall if I so choose. But I was completely and utterly underwhelmed by this application. I don't know if they're hiding something or if I don't see it because I'm in Canada. Big deal.
I have not been able to play with it this week yet, and I'm going to do so. But I'll take your word for it, Rob. I mean, I think this is a crowded space. I think there's a lot of people in it, but I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, based on the pedigree of the CEO, based on the other investors who are behind this thing, and the sort of connections that brings in terms of affiliated companies, this thing's got a good chance of making a go of it.
Yeah.
So it's not just that this guy's had 2 major exits. Michael Rubin is one of the guys backing this thing. So he's the founder of Kinetic, which owns Rulala.
Yep.
A big player in this space.
Yep.
Michael Golden is also involved in this. He's president of ShopRunner, which is the largest shipping and loyalty company around this for shopping in that sense. SoftBank. There's a lot of guys behind this thing.
They're big guys, and I don't doubt it. But this is a very competitive space. They have the great retailers as well. Pier 1, as you said. You've also got Banana Republic and J. Crew and all these huge retailers that are interested in this.
I think the piece that's missing on this, if I understand the workflow, and you've actually played with this thing, but if I understand the workflow, I take a picture of a product that I like. It checks, the 220 different retailers in the system to see who carries that particular product based on identifying the photo. It sends me, locations near me where I can purchase that product. What's missing in that chain from a shopper, optimizing the experience for me as a shopper, is do they actually have the product available in inventory in the store?
Yeah.
So integration with something like Nearby Now, or the JiWire piece around that, or any of those sort of real-time product inventory types of systems make sense here.
Everybody out there, if you're interested in this, what I would hit up is, you can just go to swirl.com. I'll pull it up here. SWIRL.com. They give you a little bit of information. If you're in the United States, you can use this. If you're in Canada, you can watch people use this. But I'd love to hear what you think about this. Reach out, untethered@gmail.com or Asif at the LBMA. You can actually direct angry emails to me this time, and positive ones to Asif. That'd be great. That's it. Mercifully, the 5 stories are done. Great conversation around these 5 stories. If you have any comments, feedback, suggestions, stories that we missed, reach out. Let us know. And if they're not in there, it's your fault. Please reach out. Now, see, if you had a great opportunity to sit down with somebody who is instrumental on the digital side for Computer Sciences Corporation, $1 billion company, why don't you talk about your conversation with John Gentry, and then we'll throw it up here.
Yeah, I mean, I was very fortunate this week. Computer Sciences Corporation, huge player, and a fantastic member of the LBMA. John Gentry, who's a managing director of global consumer products and retail. This is a guy who understands retail. This is a guy who's been working with retailers for years, and they have some fantastic clients. So I had a chance to sit down with him and talk a little bit about kind of mobile and location and where he sees that going. And so why don't we just listen to it? Here it is. It's my pleasure again to have a fantastic guest with us this week. And today it's John Gentry, Managing Director for Global Consumer Products and Retail at Computer Sciences Corporation. John, welcome to This Week in Location-Based Marketing.
Thanks for inviting me, Steve.
Yeah, so it's always great when we get to have some of the key members of the LBMA come on the show and share with us a little bit about why you're involved with us and what you're doing. And so maybe just for the purposes of our audience listening and watching today, tell us a little bit about, who is CSC and, why are you such an important player in the retail world, for the market out there today?
Great. I'm happy to. CSC, at a high level, is about a $17 billion company. We're a global company. We're based in the Washington, D.C. area in Falls Church, Virginia. The primary businesses we have are consulting, systems integration, and outsourcing, which manage services of all varieties of technology. We do business in about 90 different countries. We've been around since 1959 and have been growing steadily as a significant services player in the IT and consulting and managed services space for some time.
So, when you think about it, though, a lot of the world and a lot of what we hear about when we hear about mobile and location-based marketing and all this kind of stuff, we hear a lot about Foursquare and Groupon and all that kind of stuff. But is it fair to say that, from a retailer's perspective, and obviously, you're responsible for retail, products to some extent. Is it fair to say if you're a big retailer, it's not enough for these new service providers and vendors to come knocking on your door. You need a big consulting company like a CSC to help shape that and help people understand how to use these platforms and how to make valuable insights out of them and how to use the analytics and all that kind of stuff. Is that part of what you're offering?
Yeah, that's really what we intend to focus on. I mean, CSC has had a long history in helping retailers with IT concerns. Managing their applications, managing their technology. We've done a fair amount of consulting work, helping our customers improve how their supply chains operate, how their distribution centers operate, helping them with store systems, helping retailers with various kinds of analytics, typically in the operational analytics space, like in supply chain, like in financial performance, et cetera. So we've been serving retail for probably 30 plus years or so as a targeted space. But we've really decided to move our business more toward what we call the front of the store, which is really capabilities that would be of value to our customers, that would be visible to consumers. So we see a big opportunity with what's going on with social and with location and mobility. Specifically, CSC comes forward with a lot of practical experience helping customers operate better, right? So we wouldn't typically be in the space to help a customer build a Foursquare, for example. Mm-hmm. They're vital and important applications that are out there, but the way CSC sees those as ways to capture information about how consumers behave, people who want that information shared. Because we think with all of these different sources of what people do and where they do it, it's going to create a mountain of new knowledge that will help our customers, the retailers, figure out how to do better as a business. For example, if they can take a look at the data that comes from Foursquare, from Facebook, from any kind of digital commerce experience, and they can pull that together and maintain some level of customer identity, they kind of know who John Gentry is or who Asif is, that we might be able to better understand what kind of assortments they want and where they want them. Right now, there are a lot of models that use summary data, mm-hmm. judgment, some detailed data like point-of-sale data. There's been some location technologies in stores to date, but it's been at a pretty high level. And when you can pinpoint a customer in a store, in a certain part of a store, looking at certain kinds of merchandise and then compare that to what they actually transacted while they were in the store, or what they went home and did on their computer, or what they sat in their car and did as soon as they walked out of the store, that we think that will affect how retailers decide to take their goods to market. It will fundamentally change how these supply chains are working how merchandising works, how planning works. So we think that all these technologies out there will really drive a lot of operational change in our clients.
So if I could sum that up, I mean, I think what you're saying is that all of these great platforms that are emerging are fantastic, and yet they're all generating huge amounts of data, and somebody's got to make sense of that data. And it's not just the data that comes out of one platform or another. It's about starting to correlate these data sets for better informed decision making, better planogramming exercises in stores. All these kinds of things. Helping retailers understand foot traffic patterns. Where product display, all the stuff that they're used to dealing with. There's just vast amounts of new data that we never had access to before, whether it's geo data or not. It's about how we start to combine these things. So, yeah, I appreciate that, and I think you guys certainly have a lot to offer there. One more minute quickly before we move on to the last point I wanted to hit. But if there's one thing, if you could put on your prediction hat for the future and kind of think about retail and mobile and location and all that kind of stuff. What's the big thing that you see, maybe 12 to 18 months down the road that we all need to be paying attention to? What's the one big trend that you're sort of following?
Relative to sort of a retailer's point of view? Yeah, well, I think what's going to be really big is this whole idea of a shopper experience or customer experience. I don't think we really know yet how far that set of ideas is going to cut into how retailers operate. Because we can have a 360 view of customers, or we're getting better at having a 360 view of customers, I think that's going to change the role of retailers. I think it's going to change what partners in a retail value chain do what. I mean, there will always be stores. There will always be digital commerce. There will always be mobile commerce. But I think we'll see some of the responsibilities of that value chain shift as a result of this focus on customer experience, which spins off data, which spins off operational change, et cetera. So that's the thing that we're most focused on because it has so many dimensions to it that affect retail operations.
Awesome. All right. Well, we appreciate your insights. You obviously have a wealth of information and knowledge there at CSC. One last thing, you guys have a big conference coming up this fall. Maybe tell the audience a little bit about that. Maybe there's an opportunity for people to get involved.
Sure, absolutely. The conference is called Connect, and it's been a conference that we have been doing for 20 years or so. But what we're doing is broadening it out into other industries beyond the financial services industry. And briefly, we're focusing on a track called the mobile Connect for the Mobile Consumer is what it's called. It's essentially tying together sort of the path to purchase of how consumers commute, how they shop, how they work, and try to understand what changes that's going to drive to how different players in that value chain operate. So we have speakers from the travel and transportation industry, speakers such as yourself from the Location-Based Marketing Association talking about trends in that space. We have some industry analysts in talking about changes that are coming in e-commerce. But we're trying to give the participants that come to the sessions an understanding of how fundamental this mobility and social play really is in terms of how our customers will operate their businesses going forward.
Great.
It's I think the date is September 17th and 18th of this year, and it's down in Nashville, Tennessee at the Gaylord Opryland Hotel. So I think you can go to your website. You've been kind enough to post it on the LBMA website to get more particulars on it.
Absolutely. So there's information there. If you're listening or watching today, information on that conference is on the LBMA site under events. And that's it. We're out of time. We've been speaking today with John Gentry, Managing Director, Global Consumer Products and Retail at Computer Sciences Corporation. John, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Right, so that was John Gentry. Really appreciate John taking the time to come on the show and share with us. That conference that he alluded to at the end of the talk there, about the connecting for the mobile consumer. It's going to be a great event. If you can get out to Nashville, Tennessee, September the 16th, I encourage you to do so. And that information's up on the LBMA site as well, so you can register there or download the brochure.
Yeah, head to thelbma.com/events. You'll see it there. and a link that goes out to the CSC site. We really appreciate John doing this. John, thank you for spending so much time with Asif and enlightening us. I really appreciate that. God, I love when we have great guests on. Wicked. All right, let's finish off with a couple of funding stories. No M&A, just a couple of stories and our resource of the week, and we'll get you out of here before your morning coffee. How's that? Maybe your mid-morning coffee. This has been a good episode. Start off with the funding news. This company called SpaceCurve. This is the theme of the show, big data. SpaceCurve, pretty much big data all over this. They've raised $3.5 million. Why don't you talk about this, Asif?
Yeah, so SpaceCurve's a company. We've talked about them once before, many episodes ago. These guys are out of Seattle. The funding's coming from Triad Ventures and Reed Elsevier Ventures, as well as Divergent Ventures. So a bunch of companies coming together, $3.5 million. These guys, SpaceCurve, that is, effectively what they've done is built a database that kind of models the data in 3D. So this is 3D data around physical locations, buildings, roads, objects, all that kind of stuff. They had previously announced $2.7 million in funding, so some additional capital to kind of grow it out a little bit, maybe hire some people. We'll see what happens from these guys. Haven't seen a lot yet on the product side from them, but hopefully this is this is where the money's going now.
Hi, big data. I mean, this is what it's all about for us. Is that it is putting some logic and some sense behind the big data. So anytime a company like SpaceCurve gets invested, like I love Inrix, which is another company like this.
Yes.
Anytime a company like this gets invested in, you know that these are on the forefront. This is the innovator. This is the outcome of this data. Is going to tell such a great story, and it might seem like bits, ones and zeros to everyone, but when you get in front of a data geek and they start talking to you about what they're doing, man, you start to see things in those ones and zeros that you couldn't have ever imagined, and that's what I love about SpaceCurve. That's what I love about it.
And remember, we're only at the sort of the forefront of so where all this location data is going. So if you're out there building apps, or you're a urban planner or city planning guy, and you're thinking about what you're going to do, as far as leveraging this kind of data, it's guys like SpaceCurve and Inrix that you're going to want to be talking to kind of have access to great databases.
This is we're witnessing the development of the Internet of Things. The era and the age of pervasive computing is starting right here, starting right now, and these guys are at the beginning of this curve, I think, certainly. So they raise $3.5 million, which is not nearly enough, and my guess is they'll be going out for many, 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 many more millions of dollars. Second story around the funding is a company called LocationInsight. Now, these guys we've talked about as well, closing $5 million. This seems to be like a buyout investment, but LocationInsight, what do these guys do?
So these guys are a big player in local search marketing. So they have some interesting tools for optimizing local search. Getting people to the top of the search rankings. And it's a big space, because when you think about local search, and you think about how that correlates with all the other data that we're collecting, whether it's directory information, Google Places data, mapping data, all that stuff related to businesses, and how all that fits together when you think about search from a local perspective, and then layer in Facebook and Twitter and Foursquare and all the other things about your business. It's a huge problem. So, this is a problem that, I've talked about many, many times on the show, but this whole idea of, this growing wealth of information around an individual local business, the numerous services that are emerging around, where you have to list your business, whether it's, you're listing on Foursquare, you're listing in Google Places or Latitude, you're listing on Facebook, you're listing in Yellow Pages, you're listing here. There's 17,000 places you got to manage your listing and profile. So how does that affect search rankings? How does that affect all that kind of stuff? That's what, LocationInsight is business is all about. So $5 million coming from a group called United Communications Group. Yeah, there you go.
That's it. What else can you say? These guys, they said it's for the management buyout of local search marketing business from the InfoNow Corporation. So I think that this is a way to transfer ownership of local LocationInsight. But it's a big challenge. These guys are right at the forefront. And local search, it is the golden pot at the end of the rainbow. This is what everybody is fighting for. Newspapers, local media, it's all about local search. And Google is right in the middle of this as well. So good on them. Local Insight, LocationInsight.com. LocationInsight.com if you're interested in their services. That's it. So a little bit of money, $8.5 million dispersed. Many more deals. If you were part of this deal, if you have a deal coming up, reach out. untether@gmail.com or asif@thelbma.com. We'd love to have you actually on. So instead of talking about it, we'll let you talk about it. How's that?
Absolutely.
God, we'd love it. All right.
You could be the next John Gentry. Just think about that.
You could. Well, I don't know. John did a good job.
It's hard to be John Gentry,
Yeah,
though. He's pretty talented.
Well, you could be the next somebody. Maybe not John. But that's the challenge out there. John did a good job. Well, let's finish this off with our resource of the week. This is a survey or an assessment of big data from Jumptap and around third-party data around targeting, especially inside of their games, and the benefits of third-party data. Okay, Asif, just turn this into English for all of us out there. What does this mean? Or Jumptap showing benefits?
I mean, quite simply, what this means is that if you've got a mobile app platform and you're running advertising in that app platform, simply targeting ads based on the usage of that app by itself and the people who've downloaded that app and where they're going is one thing. What Jumptap's arguing here, and they've released this thing called the Mobile Stat Report. They do it every month, by the way. What they're arguing is that by itself is okay, but when you start to combine that data, the native app data, so to speak, with third-party data around what other people are doing, aggregating data from other sources, sort of like the stuff we were talking about at the very beginning of the show from Location Graph with JiWire's Location Graph. This idea that I know that this device is going to Starbucks, and then it goes to Best Buy, and then it goes to Macy's, and then it goes here, and it hits the Starbucks 3 times a week, and all that kind of stuff. When you can grab that data from Location Graph, for example, I'm just picking that as an example, and combine it with native app data from whatever app, it's that correlation of third-party data plus native that starts to make click-through rates really, really impactful for advertisers, and that's what they're saying here. So they're basically saying that when you combine and use third-party data, you're gonna get a huge bump. More than 50% of Jumptap campaigns included data targeting. They said that's a 500% increase since January. So people are seeing this, and they're seeing huge uptakes in click-through.
Hey, I mean, it makes sense. It's like a third-party validation, right? Isn't it? Is this like third-party validation, basically?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I like this when you can show this kind of a return on investment or impact, and that's exactly what these guys did. This is one of those things that I would sign up for as well. If you're interested in understanding the trends or the key things that are happening, Jumptap's resource, they have. I mean, I just walked through them. I pulled it up on the screen here if it still comes up. But they have their mobile stat. As Steve said, it comes out monthly. But these are great reports when it comes to the assessment of things. Like they do browsers. This is part of their network. So all their statistics from their network, they put into a report and offer it up for free. So if you're interested in trying to figure out, what's coming, what the trends are, what it was, what the trends were, this is something that I would definitely sign up, because these guys, they understand, they're at the forefront of this. So just go to jumptap.com, and the resource, if you're looking for it, will be there. It's under mobile stat. It's at the top of their navigation. Pretty cool. Great resource.
Excellent.
All right. Well, that's it for episode number 91. Asif is heading off to Kansas City. Maybe picking a baseball game or something. The Royals down there. Hopefully you got some time.
I'm not sure about that one. But you know what? I was at yesterday. I was at the in Toronto.
Toronto FC. Yeah, I saw
Toronto
that.
FC against Kansas City game. Unfortunately, we did not win. It was kind of a strange goal. It was 1-0 game in favor of Kansas, but. I can't even say it was a legitimate goal. It was a deflection off of somebody and whatever. Anyways,
and you went. Who did you go with?
Just with the family.
Oh, you did. Well, it's funny because I saw John was there as well, obviously, because he's
yeah, absolutely.
Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment. I just did a great interview with him, a good hour with John McCauley, who runs the mobile side of Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, and so they own Toronto FC, the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Toronto Raptors, the Toronto Marlies, the Air Canada Centre, Leafs TV, Raptors TV. They own everything. Pretty much everything in Toronto is owned by them, except for the Blue Jays.
Except for the Blue Jays.
Yeah. Maybe they should own the Blue Jays, the way that they're playing. Yay. All right, so we will be back next week for episode number 92. If you have anything to say, anything at all, reach out, untethered@gmail.com or asif@thelbma.com. Subscribe through iTunes. We really appreciate it if you could do that. Give us 5 stars, and if not, let us know before you're going to give us 1 star. Don't be angry. Just let us know, and we will change things. We will make sure if the episodes are too long, if there's not enough content, if they're too short. If you want these to be day-long episodes, we'll do that. We'll do that just for you, Asif and I. Just live stream our lives. We really appreciate John Gentry coming on from Computer Sciences Corporation. If you have a story to tell, we'd love to help you tell that. So you can either come on as a guest, come on as a sponsor, whatever you want to do. We are here to spread the good word of location-based marketing and its impact on business. So we really appreciate that. And I guess until episode number 92, right, Asif?
Absolutely.
Which will
have a great week,
2
everyone.
days after Bruce Springsteen.
We'll see you next week.
All right, everybody. Asif, safe travels.